What's up everybody, DRJ here, and today I wanted to bring you a review so far of DayZ. So, it's a review so far because the game is obviously still in progress. It's in alpha stages. Patch 1.72.3 is the most current patch. And then, I have more playtime than it would warrant a first or initial impressions. I think I'm sitting somewhere around 60, maybe 70 hours to give you guys an idea of where I'm at in the game. I don't think there's a whole lot I haven't done. Been about just everywhere. So, first of all, before I get into anything, I just want to say that this game has come closer than anything else in probably like the last 8, maybe, God, almost 10 years in bringing back that initial feeling of what got me into gaming in the first place. I shouldn't necessarily what got me into gaming in the first place. In the first place, it was, Nintendo or Atari when I was a kid, but what I fell in love with gaming was, when I was playing competitive Battlefield and BFE, and I just wanted to, come home every day and play. You can't wait to, hop on another server, and, you feel compelled to learn and read as much about the game as possible, and, just play as hard as you can. And DayZ for me is another game that's very similar to that. I just can't wait to get home to play it. And, I think a lot of that reason is because it is so different from, that accommodation style COD game that's out there. It's not just game, but obviously that's the way that gaming has shifted over the last 10 years. More, skill equalizers, moving away from skill-based games, more skill equalizers, accommodating them, and basically lowering the skill ceiling. So it's harder for good players to shine, easier for mediocre players to rise to the top. Obviously DayZ isn't a competitive FPS or anything like that, but it's that high risk, high reward gameplay, and it's definitely not instant respawn frag X3. It feels fantastic. I love it. That said, I do have some criticism about the game. I think the first thing is probably the zombie aggro. I mean, this game is a zombie survival deathmatch sandbox. I don't even know how to describe it. But I think the zombies, it's not uncommon to pull one from like 200 meters off, and then they're all the other zombies are just sort of ignoring you, but that one will come in. Most recently with this patch, they decreased the aggro by 20%. That was really helpful. But in combination with the environments, because the buildings are really awkward, and the terrain, I'll talk about that later. But they're coming through walls and regularly hitting you, and they run this fucking really fast zigzag pattern, and it's extremely difficult to shoot them unless you're dragging them into a building. So what ends up happening is, either you're running past them, or you're being hit by them, and it's not uncommon, to be bleeding and have a leg broken just by one swipe. It would be nice if that bleeding propensity had an increased chance to trigger with the more strikes you took repeatedly, as opposed to just running by one zombie and having him swipe you and you start bleeding and a broken leg and things like that. So zombies, like I said, it would be nice. I feel like a bit of an annoyance in my opinion. There's not as much of an incentive to sneak by them as I would like. Also, with the way the loot currently is, the majority of the loot you're getting is going to be from the drops in the world, whether it's at airfields, buildings, helicopter crash sites, whatever. The zombies really don't drop anything of any significant importance, and I think one of the ways that would be possible to encourage more survival horror, as opposed to bandits running wild and massacring everyone for their gear, would be to have zombies have an increased percentage to drop those loots. Possibility, I suppose. One of the things is the environment, like I was talking about. A lot of talk has been said about the engine itself, because you have destructible buildings and things like that. And I mean, if as someone who's played a lot of games, I mean, it feels very clunky to navigate. It's anything but user friendly. By the way, I want to differentiate user friendliness from accommodation. I think you can have a game that's user friendly without making it accommodating and throwing in skill equalizers. It's just very whether it's everything from joining servers to installing to just navigating your way around. I mean, Arma 2 is the first game where I felt like I needed 2 keyboards to map all the keybinds to. So the environment, like I said, zombies are regularly running through walls, teleporting. You can easily be glitched and fall through floors, fall through railings, fall off stairs, walk off the last 2 feet of a 2 feet of a stairwell or something, break your legs, die. So stuff like that is really all too common. Really, really frustrating. Like I said, it feels very clunky oftentimes, and the game would be much more enjoyable with a more streamlined user interface and an environment. PvP combat is something else that people have been sort of railing this game on the forums for. They're upset because they feel like this game has started to shift away from something more survival, you know, bandits robbing you, to people basically just killing everyone on sight and oftentimes not even bothering to take their loot. It's just killing them. I mean, part of me feels like this is unavoidable once you start having large populations playing this game. It's, you know, population dynamics, you know, once, you know, every time you reach these new population thresholds, it changes the way the game plays. You know, it's hard to know what the answer is to this. I think the first problem is sniper rifles. I mean, Jesus. And I almost have to laugh at a lot of the videos that I've seen out there, like the top tier PvP videos out there sniping, and people making it to be like some really big deal in this game. And you have some guy who's like, you know, they're on voice comms together, and like, Bravo, this is Delta 419er. Do you copy? We have a potential looter on the airfield, over. And then you got the other guy who's like, yeah, Delta, this is Bravo 46925er. Confirmation, you know, looter on the airfield. And you go back to the other guy, and he's like, can you please make sure he is a looter, not a zombie, you know, over. And then, you know, fast forward like 15 minutes, and, you know, the spotter that they have set up there is like, you know, break over Delta 462, you are cleared to liberate his beans and pasta. And then they take the shot. It's so goofy. It's a sniper's paradise. And as anyone, you know, may or may not have seen that video that I put up, I mean, I'm not a big fan of sniping almost in any FPS style games. I feel like it encourages a whole lot of nonsense, and I think it's a huge skill equalizer. Especially in a game like this, it feels like it was designed for sniping. There's all sorts of lookout towers, and I mean, fuck, ghillie suits, and laying down in the, you know, bushes, and you can overlook like the entire city and just murder everyone. You know, the people in my video that I did just a quick little blip of me sniping some guy running on the road, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't be running down the road. But almost anywhere in game, there's, I don't know how. It's not, I mean, it's not like that guy in my video had anywhere else to go besides. Anywhere he could have gone, I could have shot him, so it doesn't matter. And anywhere you can get loot, anywhere in whatever city, whatever military spawn, like there are excellent sniper perches all over the place. So, I mean, you can basically just hope not to get shot. That's basically it. If somebody's looking at you, you're going to die. There's no tactical way to go about it other than choosing a low population server. So one of the ways to get around that would be to, like I said, possibly encourage more zombie killing as opposed to player versus player killing by getting zombies to drop better loot. Or, I mean, something extreme would be just removing sniper rifles and putting, you know, keeping those automatics and assaults. So encouraging more of a close to mid-range style game, so people have more of a chance to react or spot somebody who's shooting them as opposed to some jerkface who's, you know, 800 meters out. The last thing I want to talk about is basically like the travel time. Big thread on the forums once again, you know, how long it takes to get from point A to point B, and it's tough. I mean, if you just load in the server and run from like one side to the other, it's not terribly long. I mean, that said, not terribly long. I mean, it reminds me of like running from, you know, like Orgrimmar to like the bottom side of Durotar or something in the beginning of the game to, I don't know, get gear from a friend or find a mailbox, whatever it was. Anyway, it's a long ways, and the vehicles in this game are so rare that what ends up happening is they're hoarded as like a commodity, and it would be nice to either have, I don't know, say more vehicles would necessarily be the answer. But it would be fun to play around with the idea of more vehicles. Like I've seen like one or two vehicles in nearly 70 hours playtime. I've just seen one or two. I've never had one myself. Never actually driven one. I've just seen one or two. Um, Maybe have, you know, a greater density of tiered areas, you know, moving your way up to the airfield or something like that, you know, more places where you can search to decrease the feel of, you know, I think somebody was jokingly labeled, you know, DayZ as a marathon simulator game, because all you do is run. And you know, it's I like the idea. I mean, you don't want to make this game an instant gratification. You don't want to turn it into an instant respawn frag X3 shipment, you know, clusterfuck. But at the same time, you know, there is a hell of a lot of travel time, and there's not a lot in between point A and point B when you get there. So maybe some more vehicles, maybe some more places to loot along the way. You know, if you make every spot in the game a hotbed, then you're going to decrease those, you know, target-rich environments like Electro and Cherno, which can be a lot of fun. But at the same time, a lot of those other areas right now are so worthless to even bother looting, that people just skip them entirely and go straight for Cherno or Electro. So it'd be nice to see some kind of balance with that. Overall, regardless of the criticisms and critiques I have of this game, I'm having an absolute blast. This is by far the most enjoyable game I have out, or that's out that I'm playing right now. And I would recommend anybody to pick this up if you know, especially if you used to play games, you know, back in the day and you felt a little, what's the word? You've lost some of that to go back and play games again. So I think that for me, this has really brought a lot of that back. So hopefully good things to come in the future. And I know that, you know, I can only imagine what it's like to be a big name dev at one of those companies like Blizz, you know, any of the AAA companies, BioWare, Bethesda. We'll have to see. I'm sure they're, you know, maybe they're going to be rethinking their thought processes on, you know, the games they'll be putting out in the future. I would love to see that pendulum shift in the future to something more like rewarding, like I said, to skill-based versus accommodation-based gaming. And hopefully in 10 years, when that happens, we can look back and, you know, say that maybe DayZ was the straw that broke the camel's back and encouraged devs to go back to a similar way of making games how they used to. As always, comments, criticisms, critiques, let me know what you guys think.